Man, it is a really strange time in the Call of Duty world, from the delay of Season 4 in Modern Warfare and Warzone to the rumors swirling about gameplay leaking for Call of Duty 2020, despite not having any official reveal yet and it being the latest reveal that we've ever seen or come to expect. It's been quite the interesting past few days with all that at hand, but today I want to talk to you about some stuff that, of course, with my luck, broke last night right before yesterday's video went live. I made that video the evening before, scheduled it, walked away from my PC, and bam, then this happens. Today I want to break down and perhaps maybe even explain to you what's going on with that leaked footage you may have been seeing or hearing about. So that said, as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Did you see that footage? Do you think it's real? And if so, where do you think it's going to be going for the overall feel of Call of Duty 2020 if that's the case? And as well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone on a daily basis, but also to stay in the loop with what's going on with Call of Duty 2020, as a reveal for that is seemingly just around the corner. But anyways, let's get into it. First and foremost, I do have to apologize because I don't have a way to directly display this footage that we're going to be talking about in this video for you. As we mentioned, throughout the next couple of minutes, this was copyright striked and takedowns were issued for this in various locations that it was shared. So for the safety of my channel, that's not something that I'm really willing to risk. If I can find a link, I'll happily drop it in the description below. But anyways, to paint the picture, a Reddit thread which has since been deleted showcased what claimed to be was found footage of Call of Duty 2020 from the Twitter user Oog the Legend. In it, we see a player running through what is an unfinished texture-wise map with a weapon showing off different lanes of sight. As always with this kind of stuff, I'm always skeptical, though that's not to say it's not true. The first glaring issue that I had were the models. Obviously in pre-alpha or even alpha, not all textures are completed, but the ones that we saw were directly textures from Black Ops 4. Textures and models such as the armored trucks, and also the most striking piece was that of the vans, which had the Daisler Robotics logo on it, which if you've seen any of our Black Ops 4 story videos, you'll recognize was the main robotics company, which in the Black Ops universe has been responsible for the majority of Score Streak creation. So the big question would be, well, if it follows suit with every single rumor that we've seen so far about it being Cold War era, potentially even being a soft reboot, why would we see things being set up in the future with seemingly even such a futuristic setting around it? But that was my initial reactions to the video. Since then, I've gone back and I've taken a look at it a little bit further, but what adds some validity here to this is that it was scrubbed from Reddit, from Twitter, and even the prominent leaker, The Gaming Revolution, got a copyright strike for this. So that sparked the flame of, well, this must be real, right? To the point that the entire situation is incredibly curious, but I still am a little bit skeptical. I don't want to say this is 100% legit just yet because some things still are weird to me. When we investigate the Reddit thread, it was taken down by the user, not removed via DMCA. When we take a look at Oog's Twitter, it says that that user does not exist, implying an account closure, not a suspension as the case would be if a takedown was actually issued and in play from a company like Activision that has done this in the past. The only original spreading side of things that has a real DMCA takedown out of this was the reshare of a video from Twitter user TMT Julian, in which the video is no longer available as a response to the copyright owner. The first two tripped me up a bit, but of course you can argue, well, if it wasn't a direct takedown, maybe the user just took down the stuff to seem compliant or to minimize the impact of a potentially impending lawsuit, which if you leak a game this early, you're gonna get sued. It's intellectual property of Activision and potentially costing them thousands to millions of dollars, or at least that's the way the legal team will see it. And there also was a tweet from Oog before his account was deleted mentioning that life is never going to be the same. So it's definitely curious, but with any copyright strikes out there, that definitely escalates the what if meter, because otherwise, why issue a strike at all? So the entire situation is just crazy. Perhaps my biggest takeaway out of all of it, though, is that why in 2020, when just about every single smartphone shoots in 4K now, why are we still recording on a potato? But in all seriousness, it is incredibly weird and messy of a scenario to follow. But I think we can kind of break this down into two logical paths of discussion. One, it's real, it's happened, and it's leaked, and that's Call of Duty 2020. Or two, it's not. To which, how can we explain that then? I kind of want to attempt to play the pros and cons of both sides, devil's advocate in a sense, and be as neutral as possible to present the facts, but while you may be keen to jump to one or the other, I'd like you to hear them both out before coming to a definitive mindset. Firstly, let's talk about the more exciting scenario. Let's talk about the possibility that maybe it is real. First, if that's the case, that's actually insane that we saw leaked gameplay of what seems to be multiplayer even before the official announcement of Call of Duty 2020. Like we talked about, even in the Activision's earnings call earlier this year, it wasn't confirmed that even Treyarch was working on the game and leading up development. They just said a Call of Duty game was coming throughout the year, and since then, that's the only thing we've heard officially. But also, I'd be incredibly confused as to why the setting of it. It looks incredibly futuristic by comparison to a proposed Cold War era game, but it also looked to have features that no other game would have had. It had the compass from Modern Warfare up at the top of the HUD and the minimap, so at least that's one part you don't have to worry about, as opposed to last year leading into the full launch of the game. But that may be an indication of the integration of the new Modern Warfare engine. It also appears to be a somewhat newer weapon, or at least not one that I can recognize immediately. And there's the inclusion of a red dot sight, which looks to be almost identical to the Black Ops 1 red dot sight. Though there's also some things that I don't understand. The reload was just about identical, if not identical, to the Vapor XKG from Black Ops 4, and as pointed out by my good friend Inkslasher, the map layout seemed to bear an incredible resemblance to the map of Sovereign from Call of Duty Ghost, as well as having seemingly some HUD elements to that as well. Plus, like we talked about, the fact that a lot of that stuff, and sure it could be placeholder textures, pointed to being direct assets from Black Ops 4. So there's certainly aspects here that could be genuine and be, again, an early variation of what we see come at launch, though we just don't know. Yesterday, a new theory came forward that proposed some interesting explanation as to why we see futuristic stuff here in this scene, that apparently we'll be seeing time jumping in the storyline where you play in the future, but you also play flashbacks back to the Cold War, though why would that be the first time we're hearing about it if that's the case? On the flip side, what if it isn't genuine? Where could we see this coming from? My initial thought was that maybe it was some kind of mod tool build, which we've seen this stuff happen before, where people create dupes and pretty convincingly make people believe that they just created something that is in the next title. That's a possibility, but there's still stuff here that is new, things that aren't easily accessible for the average mod tool user who's creating this stuff in Black Ops 3 mod tools. We don't have Black Ops 4 mod tools, we don't have Modern Warfare mod tools, so this crossover is still a little bit confusing. Another thought is that maybe it's an alpha from another game. Maybe it's an alpha from Black Ops 4, or pre-alpha rather at that point, because we've recently just saw that there was that air quote leaked Black Ops 4 campaign gameplay from a week or two ago, which was taken down over copyright because it was an early workings of Black Ops 4, but not in the sense that everybody immediately jumped to that somebody proposed that it was. I think it was even one of the developers came out on Twitter and said, hey, this was actually a specialist mission that was in its early workings, but it wasn't ever going to be a part of a campaign. So in that case, it was taken down because it's still technically intellectual property of Activision and Treyarch, but it wasn't what people thought it was. So the takedown was real, the takedown was genuine because it was early gameplay, but it wasn't a one-to-one correlation. But there's also maybe then the theory that perhaps it's test build footage. This would explain the assets, the reloads, the IW engine elements, and perhaps the map layout if that's the case, where this could be maybe even the earliest dump that we see to see if the two engines could even be compatible, to see if they would work together, because with Warzone being something that is going to press on into the future alongside whatever game is going to be current, you of course need to have some integration where those systems work together. And of course, with that Infinity Ward engine being something that is so heavily praised, they wanted to see maybe if that even works. So perhaps this is where Treyarch threw in assets to see just how it would work with the engine. That would explain then, of course, the Black Ops 4 models. That would explain the layout of potentially an Infinity Ward map and also those HUD elements. So maybe that's the case also. But regardless, early alpha footage may be out there in the wild, and I think that's really all for our minds to decide, because I don't think we're going to get a straight answer. But now the focus can shift to what we do with this potential information. Is it something to be absolutely blown away by? Is it something that we should be concerned by? I don't really think so, not yet at least. Early alpha is not something that's really all out of the ordinary in terms of where they would be in development right now. If you follow game dev at all, those stages from early alpha to beta to launch actually go by a lot quicker than you may anticipate. Last year, Modern Warfare's alpha actually felt pretty similar to the final build of the game, minus a few features that were then changed over due to community feedback in time, with more people getting hands-on via the alpha and the betas. But last May, when YouTubers and press were out in Los Angeles to see the game before it was officially revealed, so that we could then say, hey, we saw the game, here's our take on what we saw, we actually got to play some of the game as well at that point. And that was at the time labeled early alpha. And again, like I said, it actually was very similar to the gameplay that we have now. So it's not necessarily indicative of what we have at launch, or if that says, hey, they're really behind schedule, or hey, they're really above schedule. And also, like we mentioned a couple of days ago, we have no idea the time frame of the developmental windows. I don't know if I'm necessarily worried just yet, because we don't know know the entire terms of development. If Treyarch is in fact, like rumored, heading up this specific project for this year, we don't know if it was a takeover of what Sledgehammer and Raven were working on, and they just kind of picked it up where it was left off, or if they scrapped the entire thing. If they took over it, well, that actually could be a good sign, where they're still 2 years into development and well on their way to giving us a really nice game. If they scrapped it, maybe that would be some cause for concern. And also the one idea that we've been flirting around with and talking about is maybe this actually is right on schedule to begin with. Maybe because it is a later reveal date, maybe that marketing window and that timetable of development actually isn't changed, but rather shifted. Maybe the game launches in December with the next generation consoles for Xbox and PlayStation. So in that case, with a seemingly 2-month differential from where we are expecting it, that may be 2 more months that we have in terms of that development. So I guess right now it's just too early to tell. The entire situation, though, is just absolutely crazy, but I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you guys looking forward to it? Are you thinking it's real? Whatever it is, let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Brag live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.